but his debut is on ice after he suffered a setback. Shams Charania appeared on the Pat McAfee show yesterday and said, quote, "There was an expectation that by now he was going to be really on the cusp of his comeback. That's probably not going to be the case because he had a flare-up with his back, I'm told, during his ramp-up process." Rick, should Nets fans feel encouraged or discouraged by this?
Dazed, confused, and discouraged, Nets fans should be. And the credibility, look, I've long admired Steve Nash and Sean Marks, the GM. Credibility of the Brooklyn Nets has been eviscerated this season with starting with the James Harden, we're not trading him, everything's fine. Oh, suddenly he's in Philadelphia and we're making that move. And now it's Ben Simmons coming in, and Steve Nash said, like, it's not that big of a deal, it's not an injury, it's just tight. But at the same time, they're saying that they're optimistic that he could be back in time for the playoffs. The playoffs are 6 weeks from now. Like, what is going on? I don't understand where it is, but there were concerns about Ben Simmons, not from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, when he would be ready to play. Ben Simmons gave us all the signals that mentally he was getting there, that being out of Philadelphia was going to be a huge boost to him being ready to play. Yes, he hasn't played all season. Yes, ramping up, you're going to get some aches and pains. So I get it. I even understand why he might have a sore back as a result of that. But that it would take 5 to 6 weeks for him potentially, not like we're hoping he's going to be back in time for the playoffs. This makes no sense whatsoever. And it once again suggests that there's more going on behind the scenes than we're aware of. And if I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan and I was disappointed that the Harden, Kyrie Irving, KD era never got out of the blocks, and I was hoping that this would be different with Ben Simmons, all indications are that nothing has changed. We've simply rearranged the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah, you got to be concerned, and you got to be, as a fan, like, what is really going on? Because of this is what we went through the last couple years. Last year, when we first acquired KD, he was injured, and we were looking for this Kyrie KD just combustion. And then we acquired James Harden, and they never played together. And everybody thought, oh, it'll just work out in the postseason. Well, it never happened. And now you acquire a talent like Ben Simmons. You trade, you get off of James Harden, and you get Ben Simmons thinking that, okay, the only thing that we really have to test with is the mental hurdle. And we should see what he looks like with one of our stars at some point in the season, more sooner than not. And that's not going to happen. That it is concerning, because this is not the type of a player that you can just throw out there and just say, hey, make it work. No, because offensively it's going to look a little different, how they're going to space the floor. Defensively, we know that he will make them better. He definitely will make them better. But you got to see him with Kyrie, how he's going to handle the ball. Is Kyrie going to be off the ball? Like, what is that going to look like from an offensive standpoint when KD is not on the court? Because KD is not ready. So for me, it is concerning, because all of this is going to be left to chance going into the postseason. And we saw what that looked like last year. And other teams are looking like, look, if they think that they can just put these pieces together and that they're just going to work magically, they got another thing coming.
I'm surprised, gentlemen. I really am. I'm surprised you're coming down this hard on Ben Simmons when neither of you could tell me the last March 1st game that mattered or March 2nd game that mattered. This is about championships for the Nets, guys. Who cares about the first week in March? It doesn't matter. And you guys know I'm a Ben Simmons guy through and through. But let's be real. He's ducking that March 10th matchup in Philly. He don't want it. And he's probably going to come back, I would guess, a game or two after that. But he does not want his first game back or second game back to be in Philadelphia, where they're going to treat him, I would guess, poorly. If they're throwing batteries or whatever at Santa Claus, what are they going to do to Ben Simmons? They were not kind to him after that playoff series in Atlanta. It's going to get ugly. So this is not a big deal to me. We're talking about Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant figuring it out. 3 of the top 30 players in the NBA can't get together and figure it out in the playoffs. Like, I'm not overly concerned that, Ben Simmons hasn't played in a year, but he's not like a James Harden who needs the ball in his hands at all times to dominate. At this stage in his career, Ben Simmons has proven he can be a point center, pass and pick, and he's not shooting, and he's rim running and, like, setting screens. Like, I think that's where they ease him in. I just don't think this is a big deal. If anything, I'm more curious how Kyrie and Kevin Durant figure it out. Like, Kyrie hasn't played with Kevin Durant much at all this season, didn't play much with him last season. I don't know, guys. That, to me, is the bigger concern because Kyrie has the ball in his hands. I think Simmons is going to be fine.
J-Mac, there's a lot to figure out, and it's why you said the championships are all that matter. Tell me the last team, and this is why I put both the Sixers and the Nets in this camp. I think that they both took a step back as far as their championship aspirations. Tell me the last team that made a fundamental, foundational change in their roster, in their core at the trade deadline and went on to win a championship. You can't.
Pau Gasol?
Teams have added ancillary pieces. They've added pieces, but they've never taken one of their core pieces and switched it out and went on and won a championship that same season. The concern here is, yes, I believe that Ben Simmons in some ways is a fit, and I think he's a better fit on paper with where the Nets want to go than what the Sixers are. But perception is reality. And right now, James Harden is in a Sixers uniform, and Joel Embiid and James and Harden are going to town winning games. If you want to have the perception that you won the trade or you at least broke even, then you need to get Ben Simmons out there sooner rather than later. You need to get KD, Kyrie, and Ben all on the floor and demonstrate that, yes, we are indeed a better team than we were when James Harden was here. Ben Simmons might not have been playing in Philadelphia, but then James Harden got to a point where he suddenly decided, I don't want to play in Brooklyn anymore. So it's even. And now James Harden goes to Philadelphia and they start rolling. The idea that you may not see Ben Simmons for weeks, I mean, honestly, it puts you in jeopardy of even making the postseason if you're not going to have him sooner rather than later, and we don't know where the vaccine mandate is with Kyrie Irving. That's what the Brooklyn Nets are dealing with. So your idea that all they need to do is be ready to win in June, dude, they may not get the opportunity if it's going to take Ben Simmons until April to be ready to play.
Yeah, Rick, you make a great point. When have we seen a team just come together in the postseason and say, oh, we put these pieces together right now. Now you guys go figure it out and win. Right when the postseason starts. Like, what coach would sign up for that job, in that gig, saying, okay, I'll give you 3 of the top 30 best players in the league, but you only have the playoffs to figure it out. No one wants that gig. No one. Yes, you want that talent. But to task them with this weight and understanding what's at stake in the postseason, no, you want to work your way into that. Any team who has any type of chance to do something special, they want to see it before it's just unfolding in their hands and before their eyes without ever having tested it out. No one wants to be rewarded that situation. If it works out, yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, we didn't need to do it. But how often does it work out? Or have we ever seen it work out? I'm with you, Rick.
Never.
It is concerning. And for me, when you think about Ben Simmons and the psyche and trying to duck and dodge it, whatever he's trying to do when it comes to this upcoming matchup against the Sixers on the 10th, I would rather see him go out there and play